Recording in progress. 안녕하십니까.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to ask everyone to take your seats since we are about to start with today's event.
We will soon be starting our event today, so please take a seat. 시작하면 되겠나요? 네, 여러분 안녕하십니까?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first EU-Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum.
저는 오늘 사회를 맡은
This is
전산학부와
Cha Mi-young of the School of Computing at KAIST. I'm going to be your MC for today. First of all, I would like to extend my warmest appreciation to all of you for being with us this afternoon despite your busy schedules. So today, under the topic of future of science, technology, and inclusion of women, we have prepared a variety of programs, including keynote presentation, thematic presentation, as well as the panel discussion. In the morning, we had a special session for the next generation leaders organized by Korea EU Civil Society Organization Network. I believe a lot of active discussion was carried out how to have more representation of women in the science and technology area through the meetings between students and mentors. And I hope that you will enjoy this afternoon session, the first EU-Korea Women in Science Technology Forum. Also, we will first hear Her Excellency Maria Castello Fernandez, EU Ambassador to the Republic of Korea, for the opening remarks.
안녕하십니까, and very good afternoon to all of you, very dear friends and colleagues, excellencies. I feel very lonely here in this corner in such a very big room that Professor President Lee has offered us from KOST. Thank you very much for hosting us here today. Thank you. And thank you also to so many important Korean women in science that are here today, that have been with me in this, I would say, short journey. We started in June last year, some of us together, President Oh, Professor Hee-sun Chu, and so many others here in the room. We got together just to see if there was, you know, a need, a feeling, a will to discuss gender issues in science and technology. So together we managed to organize our session today, and I hope it's a long process, a first step of many other things we can do together. My special thanks really today goes to then the co-organizers of this first forum that were the embryon of so many things we can do together. The Korean Federation of Science and Technology Societies, the Korean Foundation of Women Science and Technology Association, the Association of Korean Women Scientists and Engineers, and the Women's Bioscience Forum. So just in such a very small time, we got together so many Korean women science associations and those associations that are pushing women and gender in science, which is very important. So I'm very happy. This is a key area of EU-Korea relations, and that's why I see here today many of my colleagues, ambassadors and scientific counselors of the EU countries, because it's very important for us to gender mainstream throughout all our policies, the key goal of gender equality. We come from a very long way. I'm very proud to take the words of my Italian colleague who told me that the first woman to graduate from university was an Italian from Venice called Elena Cornaro Piscopia, who graduated in 1678 in philosophy at the University of Padua. And he also told me that the first woman to receive a doctorate in science was also Italian, Laura Bassi, who also earned her degree from the University of Bologna in 1732 and became the first woman to have an academic career in the 18th century. So from those two very prominent Italian scientists until today, including Marie Curie, who, as you know very well, became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the only woman to win the award in two different fields. But there's so much now going on and so much to be done as well, especially in a digital transitioned world where we are with so many complicated geoeconomic and geopolitical challenges. This has brought significant opportunities and challenges to all of us. But women here in this new world are underrepresented in science and technology fields. That is a fact, in Europe and in Korea. So that's why we are here together. Less than a quarter of self-employed professionals in science and engineering and ICT. In 2018, women represented around only 1/3 of the total population of researchers at European level. And the proportion of them as head of institutions in the higher education sector in 2019 stood only at 23%. Why is therefore important for all of us to include more women in the scientific and technical fields? The underrepresentation of women, dear friends, in these fields translate into biased research and innovation output, loss of talent and growth opportunities. It also implied that human resources in the economy are not used to the full potential and negatively affects productivity growth in the long run. We are all facing democratic problems, both in Europe and in Korea. We are aging societies. And when we are looking also for new digital skills, you know, in the new world, innovation and new skills are very important. So we have to include everyone. More diversity and inclusion leads to better decision-making and more innovation. Diversity in teams bring more unique ideas and innovative approaches on the table, which enables better problem solving and better performance. Having both women and men represented is crucial for successful leadership and solving the complex challenges we are facing. More inclusion and diversity is essential for dynamic and flourishing societies and a necessary precondition for the well-functioning of our democracies. As I said before, gender equality becomes a core value of the European Union and a key priority in all our policies. We are the front runner of policies that bolster gender equality and the full enjoyment of all human rights by all women and girls, boys and men, and their empowerment worldwide. We have a European Commission Gender Equality Strategy 2020-2025, which delivers our commitment to achieve a union of equality And this strategy presents objectives and actions to make us make significant progress towards 2025, a gender-equal Europe. The goal is a union where men and women, girls and boys, in all their diversity, are free to pursue their chosen path in life, have equal opportunities to thrive, and can equally participate and lead our European society. But in the field of science and technology, you know better than I, gender equality is a gender mainstreaming must. It has been one of the priorities of the European research area, which is a big ambition of the European Union, to become a single market for research, innovation, and technology across Europe. In concrete actions for our new Horizon Europe big program for the next years, there is gender equality at the center, promoting gender equality in careers, ensuring gender balance in decision-making, and integrating the gender dimension in R&D content and programs. But we also have a Women in Digital strategy, which focuses on encouraging and empowering women to play a more active role in the digital age. The Commission works together with all our EU 27 countries and have signed the EU Women in Digital Declaration, which encourages women to play an active and prominent role in the digital technological sector. We also signed and launched yesterday the Digital Partnership, which has at its core innovation and research-enhanced cooperation. So we hope also to see gender mainstreaming in that implementation of our digital partnership. We are working, all of us, towards more inclusive and diverse societies, and this is a collective challenge and a shared responsibility. And it requires robust action and commitment at all levels. Us, as parents, as educators, policymakers, political leaders, social partners, entrepreneurs, city, regions, institutions, governments, all of them included. Dear friends, today I think it's very clear that women involvement and active participation is an indispensable ingredient for sustainable, fair and equitable digital economy and society. And every one of you today here has also its own commitment and plays an equal role. That's why we gather all you here, and why I think that today's discussion, as I said before, is the beginning of a process. Let us see what are the challenges here in Korea and in Europe, and let's see how we can all work together from here on to try to solve some of the issues, or encourage them, or try to share solutions. I'm very willing, and I hope that together with the EU embassies here in Korea, we are willing also to make this happen. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
네, 대사님,
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that opening remarks. Next, let me invite the President, Dr. Woo Il-lee of the Korean Federation of Science and Technology Societies for his welcoming remarks.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I understand that simultaneous interpretation service is provided, so if you allow me, let me speak in Korean. 예, 그럼 우리말로 한국말로 하겠습니다.
So let me speak in Korean.
예, 안녕하십니까?
Good afternoon.
한국과학기술단체총연합회장
This is
이우일입니다.
Woo Il-lee, President of COVS SD. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for being with us at this first EU-Korea Women in Science Technology Forum. Welcome. Especially my warm thanks goes to Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Costello Fernandez and also Minister Jong-ho Lee And also, European Commissioner Maria Gabriel, thank you very much for your opening remarks, and also keynote presenter Dr. Pascal Metivier, and also panelists and presenters. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank the ambassador for European countries for being with us this afternoon. And I know many people worked very hard to organize this forum. Especially, I would like to thank the Association of Korean Women Science and Engineers, Korean Federation of Women Science and Technology Association, and Women's Bioscience Forum, as well as to the EU delegation to the Republic of Korea. In the area of science and technology, having the fair treatment and opportunity to women, of course, researchers needs to make efforts, but it requires participation interest of everyone. At this forum, we are going to discuss under the topic of future of science and technology and inclusion of women. A lot of women policies are being carried out in various countries with the inclusion in mind. I know European countries are making the headway. They are trying to have more participation by women, and in science, and in the U.S. they are trying to have more women executive in the business world. And Korea, of course, to be in step with such an international trend, we need policies and systems that is more inclusive for the women's participation in the science and technology. I hope through this forum we'll be able to discuss about the current status and possible policies to be inclusive to women in the EU and Korea, and that we will find ways to have more women representation in this important field. I hope that everyone would have good time, and I look forward to your continuing interest in this important area. And again, thank you everyone for organizing such a wonderful forum. I'd like to end by wishing you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the welcoming remarks. Next, we would like to invite His Excellency Jong-ho Lee, Minister for Science and ICT of the Republic of Korea. He has a video message for us. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lee Jong-ho, Minister of Science and ICT. I would like to sincerely congratulate the first EU-Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to our distinguished guests for their assistance in the event despite their busy schedules. Her Excellency Maria Castillo Fernandez, EU Ambassador to the Republic of Korea, Dr. Liu Weir, President of COFST, and our keynote speaker, Dr. Pascal Metivier, Executive Vice President of Solvay Group, thank you for gracing us with your presence. In addition, I would like to thank the presidents of the Korea Federation of Science and Technology Societies, the Association of Korean Women Scientists and Engineers, and Women's Bioscience Forum, and all concerned for their hard work in preparing for this event. And of course, I will extend my welcome to all scientists and engineers here at the forum. The Republic of Korea is paying attention to increasing the participation of women scientists and engineers to solve numerous challenges such as the recent decline in growth potential, climate change, and future pandemic. Meanwhile, Europe has also continued various efforts to increase women's active role in the society, and I understand that a common interest exists in solving the pile of social problems through the participation of women in science and technology. In both the public and private sectors, it is necessary to utilize the sensitive, delicate, and detailed and flexible capabilities of women, and especially the most important task is to enable women scientists and engineers to demonstrate their expertise and creativity. Therefore, I believe this forum is very meaningful as the first step in discussing alternatives and realistic issues regarding the participation of women scientists and engineers in the EU and Korea. Furthermore, I truly hope that the forum leads to strengthened exchanges and cooperation between women in science and technology in Korea and the European Union to serve as an opportunity for mutual growth. The Korean government will spare no effort so that women scientists and engineers can grow and develop in a much better environment. Once again, congratulations on the first EU-Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum, and I wish all participants good health and happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we will hear the European Commissioner, Her Excellency Maria Gabriel, for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth for her welcoming video message.
Dear Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful to be given the opportunity to open the first forum on women in science and technology between the Republic of Korea and the European Union. When considering the global challenges, and notably the twin transition, the inclusion of all our fellow citizens, men and women alike, must be treated as our priority. A sprinter would not run the 100 meters with their legs tied together. A doctor would not perform surgery with a hand tied behind their back. Without the inclusion of all talents, there will be no successful transition, because more than ever, we need all talents to succeed. In this regard, the European Union Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum comes at a timely moment to reflect on common challenges and identify best practices. I looked at the key figures, our statistical report on gender equality. Allow me to give you one example. In information and communication technologies, both in the European Union and the Republic of Korea, women represent less than a quarter of doctoral graduates. To change the odds, my message for you consists in 3 key words: commitment, action, and visibility. First, we need a strong political commitment. With our funding instruments, Horizon Europe and Creative Europe, we send a strong signal that gender equality is both a strategic priority and a core value of the European Union. All candidates have to submit a gender equality strategy to be eligible for European support. This leads me to my second point, actions. In the field of research and innovation, for example, with Horizon Europe, we finance several training opportunities for women innovators, introducing them to the world of entrepreneurship. From the Women Tech EU, the initiative to support deep tech startups that are funded and led by women, all the way to Women Leadership Program, which provides coaching, mentoring, and training to women entrepreneurs. My third key word for you today is visibility. Women deserve visibility to recognize their achievements, create role models, and inspire the next generation. With the European Prize for Women Innovators, we celebrate the work of talented women entrepreneurs who have founded a successful company and brought innovation to market. With the social media campaign, She You Leads, we shed some light on girls and young women who make a difference in their communities. Lastly, with the European Award for Gender Equality Champions, we promote organizations that have made the most progress in their gender equality plans. Ladies and gentlemen, the association to Horizon Europe is the closest form of cooperation we offer to our like-minded partner countries. I wish that your dialogue on women in science and our overall cooperation in research and innovation will be fruitful in the perspective of a possible association of the Republic of Korea to Horizon Europe. I wish you all a great day with blossoming relationships and a lot of inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the congratulatory remarks. Let us now move on to the keynote speech. The first EU-Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum would like to deal with the topic of future of science and technology and inclusion of women. It's true that in terms of education and career in society, women are at a better position than in the past, but still they are truly underrepresented. For a better future and for a more inclusive future, what will we have to do going forward? As our keynote speaker, we have Dr. Pascal Metivier, Executive Vice President of Solvay Group. He's also the Science and Technology Director for the group as well. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anna Iseo, it's really a great privilege for me to be here today. And I will try to tell you a little bit what we are trying to do in Solvay company when it comes to gender equality and gender parity. Nothing is perfect. You will see what we do, and it's a good tool for discussion. Just maybe to start, so Solvay is a private company, more than 10 billion euro of sales, 21,000 employees. But I guess I have one question for you. Do you know what we do? We are a chemical company, nobody knows what we do. Okay, so I will ask you a few questions. Who did take a shower this morning? You probably put some Solvay products on your hair. Who has a mobile phone? Who has no mobile phone? Maybe I should ask, would be better. There are some Solvay materials inside. Particularly, I'm sorry for my Korean friends, but the one with a small fruit has more Solvay products than the other, okay? That's a story. Who has eaten some chocolate recently? Okay? In all chocolate, you have a flavor enhancer, which is called vanillin. So the vanilla flavor, 0.1% to enhance the flavor. Solvay is making half of the vanilla flavor in the world. Okay, so one chance out of two, you ate some Solvay products. So just to give you a little bit the variety of things we manufacture as a worldwide company in the field of chemistry. So if we move, I have the stuff. Just another point which is extremely important before I dive into the gender equality topic is we are a company which is absolutely worldwide and equilibrated. We have almost one-third of our turnover in the Americas, one-third of our business in Europe, and one-third of our business in Asia. So we are covering the world, and you will see when it comes to research, we are also covering the world with research centers everywhere. When it comes to South Korea, here in Seoul, we have one of our worldwide research centers. We have 2 business headquarters, 2 offices, and we have 1 big plant located in the Gunsan area. So I will come to diversity and gender parity. And first, gender equality and gender parity is one of our values. Okay, that's first, most important. But on top of this, there was an extremely interesting report from BOFA. BOFA is Bank of America. That's surprising to read those type of reports, which was looking at the big 500 companies of the world, which was showing, so this report was published in March of this year, that companies which have above median gender diversity, they have 15% higher return on equity. So which means when you are a corporation, not only your value is for this, but it demonstrates that it brings value, the diversity brings value to your company. So this is an extremely important and extremely interesting report to read. So when it comes to Solvay, we are not much better than the rest of the industry. We are not, I'm not coming to give you lessons today. In science, so we have 2,000 scientists, masters and PhD, roughly. 34% are women. Oh, not bad, but not super good. We cannot say that. We have a typical pyramid, which is we have many more women, young women than older women, more experienced women. That's the history. That's the way it is. Where it is a little bit more interesting and surprising, because you would not expect this, if you look at gender diversity per region, Europe 35%, with at the managerial level, we have 25% of female. Okay, so that's with one good news in Europe is we recruit today, in the past few years, 50% men, women. Okay? In the US, we are even lower than in Europe, 28% only in research. I'm speaking there, only 18%. We also recruit here 50%. On the other hand, we are pretty good in Korea. I will come back to this. 38% in a country when, if you look at the industry, not academia, in industry, you have very, very low level of ratio of women in the industry, 20% manager. But here we face a difficulty. It is difficult for us to reach the 50% ratio when we still recruit young people today. Okay? That's interesting. Okay, I won't come onto it. For us, gender parity and equality is extremely important, but it's part of the global diversity equation. So we also look at nationalities, origin of people, and you can see that we are a relatively diverse company since we are very well located worldwide with research centers all across the world. So what I want to show you very quickly in 2 slides is that in some way, gender diversity is a very important part of our plan, which is, as a corporate citizenship, we want to make a positive impact on society. So you have part which is protecting the planet, which I will not discuss today, nurturing innovation, and fostering education, and particularly education of women. And when it comes to this part of diversity, equity, and inclusion, this is at the core of everything we do. And first point, which is important, we believe in unity, not uniformity. So we really want diversity in our organization with unique and goals and purpose for everybody. And so we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion program. And of course, diversity, you have the gender parity, which is absolutely key, and I discussed the number where we are today and where we need to progress. On equity, there are 2 elements which are absolutely key. One, which is equitable pay. Okay. In the past 3 years, we have set up a committee to review every year all the salary in the company and to make sure there is no difference for whoever being doing. Women are less ambitious than men when it comes to get promotion and to progress. Okay, there is a bias here. And so if you do nothing, even if you recruit 50%, this will not go up through the ladder of your company. So it is extremely important. It is not in all the culture you have this bias. It can be different, but you have this bias. To work on this and to discuss on why people should be ambitious, why women need to develop themselves, what they bring in progressing, so that we can go beyond this bias, which is really an existing one. So we have specific, I would not say training, but mentorship, coaching of women in the company everywhere in the world to push for this. That's an important point, which is, how within the company, beyond recruiting 50-50, we change the culture, because there is a big bias here. So I will skip this one. So what is important for us as a company is really to promote STEM for women at all levels, starting from the little kids, okay? So where we go outside and we promote science to little kids and little women everywhere. Generally, we do this close to our research center, so our scientists can go to the schools, can go to association and present science, show it is exciting to men and women, and push women to go into this. Partnering with a number of NGOs to push girls to continue scientific career, which is not obvious. Okay, and we also, of course, we are here to deliver innovation. So we have scientific program with university, but we sponsor specific scholarships, specific projects with university, and there we have what we hope to call the famous Solvay Prize, which we give every 2 years to a top scientist. So we have here Professor Ben Feringa. We gave him the Solvay Prize in 2015. He got the Nobel Prize in 2016. We gave the Solvay Prize to Caroline Bertozzi in 2020. She got the Nobel Prize. She, I have to say, got the Nobel Prize this year. And in March this year, we gave the Solvay Prize to Professor Kathleen Carico. Maybe you don't know this person, but she's the person who invented the mRNA vaccines against COVID. And I do believe that she will get the Nobel Prize in the next 5 years to come. That's the story. So we sponsor those great scientists also, which is very inspiring for women to move in science. As I told you, we really have to do innovation, we need to work with academia and with partners, so we have a worldwide network of university, and with all those universities, we try to promote STEM projects. And what I want to present to you is what we have done here in Korea. Okay, so we have an extremely interesting setup in Korea. It's maybe why we have, by the way, 35%. It's maybe not enough, but 35% of women in our research center. Our research center is located in the middle of Ewha University. I guess you all know Ewha University, the biggest women university in the world, located in Seoul. And so we do research here. So we have built this research center. We have signed a collaborative research agreement. So doing research on projects which are of interest for Solvay, but which are also promoting the research in Ewha University. We had a grand opening, and we also sponsor scholarships for the best women students in Ewha University, so that they can go up to their master or up to their PhD. And then those people can either join Solvay or go elsewhere. It's not, but it's a way to promote the science here. I will give you a small history. You know, we came to Korea to do research on batteries and electronics because Korea is a place to be to do this because of the great Korean company located here. The best students, at least the best men students, they don't know Solvay and they don't come to Solvay. They go to names like, I don't know, Samsung, maybe you know Samsung, LG. So our bet was we are going to attract the best women. We are not known. And this is one of the bets we have done. It's not fully won, but I can tell you we have great scientists in Korea, and we are really doing great things. And I just want to finish with this one. This is my granddaughter. She will be 2 years old next week, 2 years old in European culture. She will be 3 years old in Korean culture next week. And what I want for her is that in the future, she lives in a better world when it comes to gender diversity and gender parity. And if we just let things go, it will not happen. So we all need to be active to make this happen. And this is extremely dear and important to me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful keynote presentation, Dr. Executive Vice President Metavier. Before we move on to the next session, we will take a commemorative group photo. So I'd like to ask the guests to join us on the stage for a group photo.
There will be a photo session now. So the speakers and the invited guests, please come forward so we can all take a picture together. 네, 그럼 이어서 여성과학기술인의 현황 및
Yes,
여성의 역량
let us
강화를
now
위한
begin the
한국화 이후의
thematic
정책에 대한
presentation on the current
주제로
state of play and
섹션을
policies to empower women
먼저
in
캔,
S&T.
한 이후
First,
시민사회단체
we
네트워크에서
would like
제작한
to
과학기술
watch
관련
a
여성
video
공개 영상을
on the
시청하시겠습니다.
statistics of women in science and technology by Ken.
Marie Curie. How could we ever forget her? She was a woman of many firsts. In 1903, she became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. Together with her husband Pierre Curie, she gained recognition in physics for her pioneering work in the study of radiation. In 1911, she received the Nobel Prize in chemistry, becoming the first person and only woman to win the award in 2 scientific fields. She was also the first woman to ever become a professor at the University of Paris. In so many ways, Marie Curie paved the way for women in the 20th century. But since her time, only 60 women have been honored with a Nobel Prize, compared to 894 men. In fields related to science, technology, engineering, and math or STEM, only 12 women have won a Nobel Prize in medicine and physiology, compared to 212 men. In chemistry, only 7 women compared to 181 men. In physics, only 4 women compared to 215 men. And if we count the total number of Nobel laureates in history, the pattern persists in all categories. Men are constantly outnumbering women by a very wide margin. In today's world, women are still underrepresented in STEM fields, both in education and employment. Even though opportunities in higher education are more or less the same for both genders, women make up only 35% of those who pursue STEM courses. The gender gap is most prevalent for students of technology and engineering. The situation isn't any better for women seeking a career in STEM fields. Women represent only 33% of scientific researchers in the world, and 12% of membership in science academies. Well, Marie Curie did warn us that the way of progress is neither swift nor easy. But from her century to ours, how far have we come in closing the gender gap in STEM? Let's look at what the lines tell us. In the European Union, how many women have earned a university degree in science and technology over a period of 10 years? Let's see. There goes the blue line for women and the red line for men. So far, so good. Women are in the majority. But what about finding employment as professionals and technicians in science and technology? Well, look at that. The blue line is once again higher than the red, still looking good. Now, let's compare the number of women and men working as scientists and engineers. Watch the blue line. It's now way below the red line. It appears that women have no problem getting a job as professionals or technicians, but the prospects are far less promising for female scientists and engineers. From the European Union, we now move on to South Korea. In higher education, latest figures indicate that more women have a degree in the natural sciences, except in the doctorate level. But once we enter the realm of engineering, a shift happens. The bar doesn't go very far from women in all degrees. The overall employment rate is also much lower for female graduates of science and engineering. The same goes for other science majors, except in medicine and pharmacy, where women lead by less than 1%. From where we are, it's clear that women have scaled the ladder of STEM education and employment. Yet, gender equality is still a long way off. Why is that? Studies reveal that gender equality in STEM faces the same barriers today as in the past. Gender stereotyping still exists in education. Female students still experience a feeling of isolation without enough female peers, role models, and mentors to count on. And unconscious bias persists, not just in school, but also at home. In the workplace, women don't always get the support and mentorship they need to navigate a male-dominated environment. They don't get paid as much as their male counterparts. They don't get the same access to leadership roles, and they still fall victim to gender stereotyping and unconscious bias. Other factors contribute to why more women are likely to give up their careers in STEM. For one, they carry the pressure of balancing work with motherhood and other family duties. With little or no access to creative and leadership roles, they eventually lose interest. The workplace can also be rough when cases of harassment and stereotyping arise. So how can we eliminate the biases that keep getting in the way of gender equality? What can we do to create more pathways for girls and women in STEM? How can we provide the support they need to succeed and thrive in their studies and career? And what steps can we take to build a safer and more inclusive environment for women in STEM fields? The United Nations reminds all of us that a world where women are excluded is a world deprived of rich ideas, perspectives, and talent. The European Union envisions a world where women and men, girls and boys in all their diversity are equal, where they are free to pursue their chosen path in life, where they have equal opportunities to thrive, and where they can equally participate in and lead our society. How can we work together and turn this vision into reality?
네, 다음으로는
Next, I would like to invite President 오명수 of the Korea Federation of Women's Science and Technology Association to speak on the current state of play and politics to empower women in science and technology, the Republic of Korean perspective. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Oh Myung-soo, President of KOFWSD. I'm going to talk about the current state of play of Republic of Korea. So infographics shared various data, but I'm also going to share some data which I think are important to me. Korea, as you know, is rapidly advancing and changing country. Just statistics for the last 20 years alone, you see drastic changes, especially in the area of science and technology. If you look at the bottom of this graph, the total researchers workforce has grown by 3.5 times in last 20 years, meaning we are very much advanced in terms of technology development activities. But there are also areas that are not really changing, which is gender gap. The first line here, the gender gap in employment and gender wage gap, glass ceiling index, which is embarrassing. We are the lowest of the OECD countries. And if you see the STEM statistics, 24.5% in the STEM area, which is not really low in compared to other countries, but it's low when it comes to utilization. Only 7% of female faculty in engineering, and it's not really moving very much. And if you look at the manpower statistics, women in STEM workforce is less than 15%. So if you compare to Europe and other countries, what would it look like? Now, the gender gap in terms of economic activities or wage gap, you see clearly how kind of far behind Korea is. And if you look at glass ceiling index, the top 7 countries are all from Europe. And actually, if you see in the STEM area, gender gap, this numbers that was 24.5% in the female student ratio is rather high. It's thanks to very long efforts, and it's not easy to do, to go beyond 20%. As you see, United States and Canada being about 25% range, and I couldn't find data as for Europe, so I left it blank. And also female faculty ratio, we are far behind, and women STEM workforce compared to Europe, United States, and Canada, Korea is far behind, and numbers prove it. Then I would like to talk about, then maybe we need to create the right laws. But if you look at our laws, even in the Constitution, said that all citizens are equal, and it actually prohibits unfair discrimination against women. And also Labor Standards Act also said you should not be discriminated because of your gender, and Equal Employment Related Act also says equal work, equal pay. And also we have act even fostering or supporting women in STEM, which was promulgated in 2022, and there is even 5-year plan in place. The first plan focused on fostering, second plan is fostering utilization, and third plan was more focused on utilization, and the fourth plan focused on qualitative growth, and fifth plan will start next year. So this basic plans, of course, do have their own shortcomings, but in the public sector and universities, it's followed it. But in the fifth plan, I think it will be expanded. We hope, to the private sector also. So we can say we do have some legal frameworks. That's what I wanted to say with this slide. Then, what are the current issues and challenges? Of course, population decline is always mentioned, and with that, we need top talent in the STEM area, but it will fall short. Then only 14.6%, which is the percent of women in STEM. Women need to be utilized more in the STEM area. That's what we've been saying. And leaky pipeline was mentioned in the infographics, and by every stage the numbers are going down. And these numbers, it's coming from the healthcare insurance, and if you're hired, it's counted in the numbers. But in terms of quality, whether the STEM majors are working in their areas of major, there's a bigger gap. For example, chemical engineer majors, even at the university that I retired from, showed big gap in terms of female student that was working in the chemical engineering area. And also, if you look at the research area, universities, research centers, and on the private sectors, when it comes to manager positions, you have less women. And also what is in red, if you expand on the 9.4% on the private sector from the middle managers, top management, you see the percentage of women continuously dropping, especially in the red box, the top management, which means executives. It shows that overall is 4.1 in average, but this is for the listed companies. Ratio, which is 5.2%. It's even lower than that because it's 4.1%. And if you have different perspective on women leadership, so engineering, where you have far less women, women-dedicated associations or can be formed, or you could have a female subcommittee at various societies, and it looks of the 851 former presidents of various STEM societies, only 2 were women. And as of now, there are no female president of the STEM societies. And we have a female membership ratio 10%, student female membership 28%. But the ratio of women in the BOD is in sync with the female membership ratio, 10%. And I hope that there will be more women going after the president position in the future. So we have the legal framework, which is not really fully being, and women are not really being fully utilized. And why is the change so delayed? I think it's due to the cultural environment. Chile climate is what Bernie Sanders has said. It is a prevalent term. It's about unfavorable climate discrimination that women face in the STEM workplace environment, and we call the Chile environment. This was researched last year. So we looked at the 30 STEM workers to see whether we can have more women in STEM area. And the challenges in the interview that they identified was male-dominated work environment, absence of female role models, lack of networking opportunities, and HR management system biased against women, and also disadvantage of job assignment following maternity leave and lack of access to resources were identified as difficulties faced by female STEM workers. So is it only Korea? Not so. If you look at the report from Canada, so one out of 2 women say they don't feel respected on the job, and 1 in 3 get paid less than men, and 1 in 4 experience discrimination, harassment, as well as also bullying. So, and this is a picture of scientists of document in 2020, and it featured this diagram. Sexual harassment is only tip of the iceberg, which is visible, but under the iceberg, unconscious bias is a serious problem, and without continuous effort, this cannot be corrected. So if we don't tackle these, that it's always going to be unfavorable to women. So unconscious gender bias is considered to be this big iceberg. Then how can we change them? And also in Korea, what we need to focus on while benchmarking other countries, the conclusion that we reached is that we need diversity, equity, and inclusion. That we need a culture that foster these things. So diversity, of course, means gender, age, race. Of course, these are important, but we need also diversity in values and beliefs. And that company with diversity have good performance results. That's already been documented. And as was mentioned today, diversity is also key to innovation. When it comes to inclusion, there are different definitions, but I brought 2 definitions that I like. What kind of work environment is it? Is it equitable and offer equitable access to opportunities and resources, and you feel valued and supported and contribute fully to the organization's success? But what is in red is also important. You should be deliberately cultivating this. So there are some intentional efforts that's involved, and seeking to change the ways to cause systematic inequities. And in other words, efforts to change is also definition dimension of inclusion. I think effort toward ESG is also happening in Korea, and ESG also talks about diversity and inclusion. So human rights is in there. Gender, of course, equality is one of the basic human rights, and diversity in board and also structure diversity of the board also talks about diversity. So at our KOFWST, we are also trying to champion diversity and inclusion. So in 2022 to 2023, it's going to be one of our major theme of our programs and projects. So we are developing various education programs and workshops toward this and are all incorporated in all our programs. And we also have this in our mission statement and other related agencies also have this as important agenda item. So we are also trying to benchmark them and try to expand them. So what should we do? We of course need to benchmark and learn from others, but we need data above all. Just I did not experience this, and I'm a very equitable person, so I do not believe there's no discrimination in this society. It's not no longer worth mentioning. So because data says otherwise. So we need to accumulate data to identify where's bias against women and where we can improve. So through these activities, through data, we need to change our mindset and receive education. And as was emphasized many times today, social consensus, and as Ambassador Castello Fernandez said, it's a collective responsibility. So we need all to work together to promote and educate women in STEM and try to promote them in the leadership position as something we all need to work together as a good. So I think that is what the allyship is all about. Our federation is also working toward that goal, and with all your interest and participation, I think we will have more women respected and working in STEM area. Thank you very much.
회장님 발표 감사드립니다.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Next, we would like to invite a presentation on EU's current status and policy on women in science and technology. We have a video presentation by Ms. Signe Ratso, Deputy Director General, Acting Director General of Directorate General for Research and Innovation of the European Commission.
Participants, thank you for your kind invitation to this first EU-Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum. I wish I could be with you in person for this event. I'm happy to participate in this thematic session on the current state of play and policies to empower women in science and technology, after the talk of Professor Mung-Song Oh, President of the Korea Federation of Women's Science and Technology Associations. We are going through turbulent times in the world, and the challenges we face from poverty to climate change are huge. We count on research and innovation to help move away from the areas of instability and progress towards a smart, sustainable and inclusive growth. This move cannot leave women behind. Women as citizens, women as users of innovation, or women as scientists. We need the best minds of the world to work together. And in this regard, gender equality and equal participation play a crucial role in ensuring that women are empowered to participate and contribute to global challenges. Gender equality is one of the core values of Europe's strategy for international cooperation, as highlighted in the global approach to research and innovation. In line with the Commission's gender equality strategy for the years 2020 to 2025 and the EU Agenda for Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment in EU External Action, the European Union always considers the gender dimension in international cooperation. Multilateral collaboration and dialogue are important measures towards advancing gender equality and women's empowerment globally, with research and innovation playing a pivotal role in addressing gender imbalances and inclusiveness. Through dialogues and forums with international partners, such as the Republic of Korea, we are actively working towards fostering gender balance and equality, youth empowerment, inclusiveness, and diversity in research and innovation at the global level. The Framework Programme for Research and Innovation, Horizon Europe, remains open to the world and international researchers. For the 2021 to 27 period, Horizon Europe includes an extended association policy for the closest possible R&I partnership with the EU towards countries which, like the Republic of Korea, have a strong research and innovation capacity that share our common values. Maria Gabriel, EU Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, stressed in her remarks earlier today the need for strong political commitment. Gender equality and gender mainstreaming have been a core priority within the European research area since 2012, covering 3 objectives: having gender equality in careers at all levels, achieving gender balance in decision-making, and integrating a gender dimension in research content. With Horizon Europe, the European Commission strengthened its commitment to gender equality in research and innovation with new provisions. Allow me to highlight these key novelties. First, we have introduced a new eligibility criterion. Every research organization, higher education institute and public body from every EU member state and country associated to our program needs to have in place a gender equality plan. This is not something new, though, as the European Commission has been supporting an institutional change approach through gender equality plans in R&I organizations for over a decade. With such a plan in place, the institution commits to implementing a set of actions towards gender equality, including collecting and monitoring sex-gender disaggregated data across all staff categories and tackling unconscious gender bias among staff and decision makers. This is an important step to create equal opportunities and good working conditions for all researchers, allowing them to reach their full potential from their studies to research innovation careers, therefore promote gender balance in science and technology fields. This year, we had the very first launch of the EU Award for Gender Equality Champions, to recognize organizations that have made most progress in their gender equality plans. Second, integrating a gender perspective in the EU-funded research is now mandatory by default and an award criterion evaluated under excellence. For the period between 2015 and 2019, less than 2% of the world's publication integrated a gender dimension in their content. Embedding sex and gender-based analysis into R&I content is a matter of producing excellent research to the benefit of all citizens and increasing the social relevance of the R&I outputs. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the great need for sex and gender disaggregated data in health research, for instance. This ranges from discovering sex differences in immune responses, sex-specific side effects of vaccines and therapeutics, as well as gender-specific risk factors, especially in sectors where women are overrepresented, such as in the health and care sector. Our Horizon 2020 funded Gendered Innovation Expert Group has produced case studies and recommendations for a better integration of sex and/or gender differentiated analysis into research and innovation in all fields. Third, for Horizon Europe, we introduced a new ambitious target for gender balance of 50% in all Horizon Europe-related decision-making bodies and evaluators. Gender balance in research team is one of the criteria that evaluators pay attention for proposals that have received the same score. Scientific excellence goes hand in hand with the gender balance support system that puts forward research conducted by all and for all. We do have data and statistical reports that inform us where we can do better. And today's forum is about women in science and technology. So let me just allow to highlight some of the key figures. In the fields vital for the world's economy, such as ICT, women's representation remains very low. Only 22% of doctoral graduates in the fields are women. Similarly, in the Republic of Korea, the number is also low, with 15%. Strengthening gender equality and women's participation in the labor market is of paramount importance, now more than ever, to ensure fair societies, but also to lead innovation. In order to have more women in S&T occupations, we need to invest in gender equality early on, from the time of education. In line with the new strategy for universities, the European Commission will further address the underrepresentation of women in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, the so-called STEM fields, for universities and R&I stakeholders, towards a manifesto for gender-inclusive education that will be ready in 2023. Through our policies, we aim to close the gender gap in STEM and create lasting, long-term structural change to researchers in their careers. We have deployed significant support to nurture the future generation of women innovators, introducing them to the world of entrepreneurship while offering them the right training. The new innovation agenda for Europe will attract and retain talent in the EU by increasing support to women innovators. The Commission has launched initiatives such as Women Tech EU, which is a dedicated initiative to support deep tech startup funded and led by women. I'm happy to say that we do have 2 EU-funded projects with a strong international cooperation angle, namely with partners from Republic of Korea. These projects include promoting the integration of a gender perspective and STI multilateral dialogues and empowering business networks. I hope the EU-Republic of Korea cooperation will deepen in the perspective of a full association to Horizon Europe. Within the ongoing work on multilateral dialogue on values and principles, we are in the process of organizing a thematic webinar in February on gender equality and inclusiveness to discuss with global partners common challenges and solutions and best practices, namely to create a trusted environment of collaboration in R&I. One of these challenges, addressing the underrepresentation of women in STEM and in leadership and decision-making positions. I hope that the Republic of Korea will participate in the webinar. So finally, thank you very much for your attention and wish you a fruitful discussion for the rest of the forum.
네, 시그네 라소
Well, thank you
부총국장님의
very
말씀을
much
잘 들어봤습니다.
for the wonderful
이번에는
presentation.
화상 연결해 볼 텐데요.
Now we
스페인
will
USIC
link via
세베로 오초아
video
분자생물학센터의
to hear from Professor Paola Boblenta, member of the ERC's David Council, head of Department and Differentiation Department at the Center for Molecular Biology, Severo Ochoa, CSIC, UIM, Madrid, Spain. So, Professor, are you there?
Hello, Professor. Please go ahead and start. The stage is yours.
Yeah, okay, I hope you can hear me and see me. I'm really sorry for not being there with you today, but difficult to travel at this time. I represent the ERC, European Research Council, in Europe, and I would like to share with you what the ERC has done to increase success rate of women in application for funding in the excellent program of the ERC. To do that, the ERC has created a working group, which is led by Geneviève Almoussi from France, and has a number of members of the scientific council, including me, which is that I'm now representing the group. Sorry, okay. So the ERC gender issue or gender equality plan was initiated in as soon as the ERC was created, and has done a number of progressing changes to meet and increase the success rate of women that are applying to the ERC. Therefore, the ERC adopt a ERC gender equality plan that is periodically revised almost every year. And we have a new gender equality plan for the period of 2021 to 2027. This document sets the ERC gender policy and objective, and the implementation plan that is used to implement these policies. You can find the document in the ERC website, and this is open to the general public. Sorry, the ERC action that have been taken for including women or for increasing women representation within the ERC scheme of funding has been the following. At the beginning, the working group and the ERC Scientific Council decided to extend the eligibility of the eligibility window for women by 12 months for each child born after the PhD, but then realized that this was not sufficient, and therefore extended this period to 18 months per each child that was born either before or after the PhD, before there was no eligibility extension within the policy. And now we have extended this eligibility window also if there is need, for example, of taking care of a sick parent, of a sick relative. So there is a wider reason for extending the eligibility window. There are also a number of measures that we have taken within the proposal application that help also increasing the success rate of women. This has been the removal of the section on scientific leadership potential, therefore self-evaluation, because as it has been said before, women are less prone to self-prize, and therefore this created a certain imbalance between men and women application. We also reversed the order of the evaluation criteria, putting the project first and the track record of the PI after, because this also increases the success rate of women, because the project takes more visibility than the PI. We included a model template for the CVs, so to homogenize and so that both women and men could have a similar format, avoiding again these differences in which women present themselves with less strength and we limited the track record to 5-10 publications, depending on the scheme and the age of application. We also did a lot of work on evaluations. There is a clear, there are evidence that there is a lot of unconscious bias when evaluating a proposal from women. Therefore, we worked very much on raising awareness of the evaluators on this point, using videos, slides, and talks with the panels that take part of the evaluation. This awareness, raising of awareness was also applied to the staff agency that work for the ERC, the ERCA, for the scientific officer and the entire management, so that we can be all at the same level, and also the member of the scientific council, many of them are women, as I am. We undergo a session of unconscious bias because to really increase our own awareness. We also promoted a large number of activities for equal opportunity, gender balance, and among the eligible costs in the working package are also included as eligibility cost, activities that are set for promoting equal opportunity and gender balance within the proposal. Again, it seems that my slides do not move very well. Sorry for that. Okay. During COVID, during the COVID pandemic, it has been clear that women had been also more affected than men, and therefore there is now a dedicated section to report on the COVID pandemic impact. This is for everybody, but it is open. That has been particularly important for women because applicants are differentially have been differentially affected, especially for women that have taken care of homeschooling, different way of working, and so on and so forth. The outcome of all the, again, sorry for my slides not moving forward. Okay, so I would like now to illustrate that with data the effect that this measure have taken across the different framework goals of the year C. Again, sorry, not sure why this is not working. Okay. Now it's working too much. Sorry. Okay, so as you can see here, in the initial calls between 2007 and 2013, the success rate of women that is reported in solid colors for each one of the type of goals, starting, consolidator, or advance, was less than that of males applicant, is clearly seen here in this graph that reports the total success rate, which was clearly below. However, after the implementation of the old measure that I mentioned, now there has been a clear increase in the success rate in some domains, like in physical engineer, was also better that of women than not of men, and there is a clear trend in increasing the success rate. This success rate reported here across all the years has been clearly improving. The females here, the graph representing women is the one in blue. And as you can see here, actually in the last call, the entire success rate of women has increased even more of that of men. Meaning that the measures that we have taken and all the effort for raising awareness of this difference has really clearly led to a great success. So we hope that these ideas that we have put forward can be adopted also in other funding agencies that will contribute to increase the awareness of need of taking measure to obtain results. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to answer any question that you can address to me by email or directly to me or to the ERC executive agency and to help out toward this goal. Thank you.
네, 이른 아침 시간에
Yes, thank you very much. I know that it's very early in the morning. Thank you so much for sparing us with the time, and I'm sure that you heard the big round of applause here on site. So we just heard from our speakers, and would now like to take a break. And during the break, there will be an interesting video that we will be showing for our audience. A YouTuber will be out on the streets to conduct interviews with university students. So please enjoy, and we would now like to take a 10-minute break.
몇 분으로 알려드리면 될까요?
And then that would be
50분이요? 네, 그럼 50분에 다시
3:50.
만나뵙도록
So I will see you
하겠습니다.
back at
감사합니다.
3:50. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, today we're here for a special project promoting gender equality in the science and technology field in collaboration with the EU delegation to South Korea, and we'll find out what Korean university students think about the subject. So let's go and find out.
할 수 있는 부분은 남성이랑 별 다르지 않다고 생각하고는 제인 구달 씨 같은 경우에는 이제 여성분들이 상대적으로 남성분들보다 공감 능력이 강해서 이제 자신이 활동하는 동물학자인 면에서 조금 더 편했던 부분이 많다는 식으로 들었던 것 같기는 해요.
성이기 때문에 이런 점이 도움이 될 것이다. 뭐 예를 들어서 굉장히 섬세한 거를 발휘한다던가 그런 거는 사실 조금 편견일 수 있다고 생각하고, 다른 남성 과학자들과 똑같이 그냥 과학적인 분야에서 어떤 지원만 있다면 똑같은 성과를 낼 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
네, 그냥 사람으로서 기여를 할 수 있는 게 뭘까라는 질문이 조금 더 정확할 것 같아요. 제가 생각했을 때는
남성만으로 이루어진 집단에 보다는 훨씬 다양하게 시각이 이루어지고 다양하게 문제 해결이 가능할 것 같아요.
특별하게 여성이라서 할 수 있는 것이라기보다는 어떤 분야이든 한 계층이나 한 성별로 전문가 집단이 특정이 되면 그 이외의 집단에 대해서는 생각할 수 있는 어떤 능력이나 의제들 자체가 떠오르지 못하기 때문에 이러한 학계의 다양성을 증진을 하고 또 새로운 목소리를 낼 수 있다는 점에서 여성 과학자들이 유의미하지 않나라고 생각합니다.
최대 한 30%가 넘진 않을 것 같아요.
한 30%, 40% 되지 않을까 생각합니다.
일단 반보다는 아직 좀 적을 것 같다라는 생각을 했고
20%? 20% 미만.
한 40% 정도?
10% 정도 될 것 같습니다. 물론 학부생들 기준이긴 한데 공대 인원들 비율로만 봤을 때도 남자 비율이 압도적으로 많아가지고 그럴 것 같습니다. 뭔가.
아무래도 특정 분야나 또 과학기술 또 제조업 관련된 분야에서는 또 체력에 바치는 일들이 많기 때문에 선호되지 않는 경향이 있는 것 같고, 또
저는 우선은 기회가 아무래도 남자보다 많이 적고
제일 딱 생각나는 게 이제 로잘린 프랭클린이 당시 DNA랑 엑스레이 면에서 이제 발견 많이 도와주실 때도 왓슨이랑 또 다른 분한테 약간 뺏긴 듯한 그런 것도 있어가지고 그런 것도 적지 않게 있지 않을까 생각되는 것 같아요.
이 사회적으로 여성에게 좀 가정을 책임지기를 요구하는 이 사회 구조상 이 연구와 가정을 병행하는 것이 좀 여성 연구자들에게 좀 큰 태스크가 아닐까라고 생각합니다.
아무래도 그 분야에서 소수자니까 거기서 느끼는 그런 부담이 있지 않을까요? 뭔가 물론 이게 꼭 여성이라서만 해당되는 건 아니고 어딜 가는 다른 집단도 마찬가지겠지만, 그러니까 소수 집단에 속한 구성원이 뭔가를 잘못했을 때 그게 낙인으로 이루어지는 경우가 조금 어려운 점이라고 생각합니다.
자체를 바꿔야 될 것 같기는 해요. 이제 저희가 아직까지 현대 사회가 아무리 이제 성평등 해도 특히 과학 면에서는 아직은 남성들이 좀 확연히 많지 않을까. 근데 그게 이제 여성이 적어서 그런 건지 아니면 이제 적게 비춰져서 그런 건지는
여성과 남성이 둘 다 자기가 할 수 있는 직업 활동을 계속 이어나갈 수 있도록 지원하는 것이라고 생각이 되는데 여성과학기술 연구자의 분야에서도 구체적으로 얘기를 하면 공공 아동 위탁이라던가 이런 식의 연구를 계속 할 수 있는 시간을 마련해 줄 수 있는 지원 정책이 있는 것이 필요하지 않나라고 생각합니다.
Hey guys, today we're here for a special project promoting gender equality in the science and technology field in collaboration with the EU delegation to South Korea, and we'll find out what Korean university students think about the subject. So let's go and find out.
할 수 있는 부분은 남성이랑 별 다르지 않다고 생각하고는 제2구달 씨 같은 경우에는 이제 여성분들이 상대적으로 남성분들보다 공감 능력이 강해서 이제 자신이 활동하는 동물학자인 면에서 조금 더 편했던 부분이 많다는 식으로 들었던 것 같기는 해요.
여성이기 때문에 이런 점이 도움이 될 것이다. 뭐 예를 들어서 굉장히 섬세한 거를 발휘한다던가 그런 거는 사실 조금 편견일 수 있다고 생각하고 다른 남성 과학자들과 똑같이 그냥 과학적인 분야에서 어떤 지원만 있다면 똑같은 성과를 낼 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
네, 그냥 사람으로서 기여를 할 수 있는 게 뭘까라는 질문이 조금 더 정확할 것 같아요. 뭔가 제가 생각했을 때는
남성만으로 이루어진 집단에 보다는 훨씬 다양하게 시각이 이루어지고 다양하게 문제 해결이 가능할 것 같아요.
특별하게 여성이라서 할 수 있는 것이라기보다는 어떤 분야이든 한 계층이나 한 성별로 전문가 집단이 특정이 되면 그 이외의 집단에 대해서는 생각할 수 있는 어떤 능력이나 의제들 자체가 떠오르지 못하기 때문에 이러한 학계의 다양성을 증진을 하고 또 새로운 목소리를 낼 수 있다는 점에서 여성 과학자들이 유의미하지 않나라고 생각합니다.
최대 한 30%가 넘진 않을 것 같아요.
한 30% 40% 되지 않을까 생각합니다.
일단 반보다는 아직 좀 적을 것 같다라는 생각을 했고
20%? 20% 미만
한 40% 정도?
10% 정도 될 것 같습니다. 물론 학부생들 기준이긴 한데 공대 인원들 비율로만 봤을 때도 남자 비율이 압도적으로 많아가지고 그럴 것 같습니다. 뭔가
아무래도 특정 분야나 또 과학기술 또 제조업 관련된 분야에서는 또 체력에 바치는 일들이 많기 때문에 선호되지 않는 경향이 있는 것 같고 또
저는 우선은 기회가 아무래도 남자보다 많이 적고
제일 딱 생각나는 게 이제 로잘린 프랭클린이 당시 DNA랑 엑스레이 면에서 이제 발견 많이 도와주실 때도 왓슨이랑 또 다른 분한테 약간 뺏긴 듯한 그런 것도 있어가지고 그런 것도 적지 않게 있지 않을까 생각되는 것 같아요.
이 사회적으로 여성에게 좀 가정을 책임지기를 요구하는 이 사회 구조상 이 연구와 가정을 병행하는 것이 좀 여성 연구자들에게 좀 큰 태스크가 아닐까라고 생각합니다.
아무래도 그 분야에서 소수자니까 거기서 느끼는 그런 부담이 있지 않을까요? 뭔가 물론 이게 꼭 여성이라서만 해당되는 건 아니고 어딜 가는 다른 집단도 마찬가지겠지만 그러니까 소수 집단에 속한 구성원이 뭔가를 잘못했을 때 그게 낙인으로 이루어지는 경우가 조금 어려운 점이라고 생각합니다.
자체를 바꿔야 될 것 같기는 해요. 이제 저희가 아직까지 현대 사회가 아무리 이제 성평등 해도 특히 과학 면에서는 아직은 남성들이 좀 확연히 많지 않을까. 근데 그게 이제 여성이 적어서 그런 건지 아니면 이제 적게 비춰져서 그런 건지는
여성과 남성이 둘 다 자기가 할 수 있는 직업 활동을 계속 이어나갈 수 있도록 지원하는 것이라고 생각이 되는데 여성과학기술 연구자의 분야에서도 구체적으로 얘기를 하면 공공 아동 위탁이라던가 이런 식의 연구를 계속 할 수 있는 시간을 마련해 줄 수 있는 지원 정책이 있는 것이 필요하지 않나라고 생각합니다.
Hey guys, today we're here for a special project promoting gender equality in the science and technology field in collaboration with the EU delegation to South Korea, and we'll find out what Korean university students think about the subject. So let's go and find out.
할 수 있는 부분은 남성이랑 별 다르지 않다고 생각하고는 제인 구달 씨 같은 경우에는 이제 여성분들이 상대적으로 남성분들보다 공감 능력이 강해서 이제 자신이 활동하는 동물학자인 면에서 조금 더 편했던 부분이 많다는 식으로 들었던 것 같기는 해요.
여성이기 때문에 이런 점이 도움이 될 것이다. 뭐 예를 들어서 굉장히 섬세한 거를 발휘한다던가 그런 거는 사실 조금 편견일 수 있다고 생각하고 다른 남성 과학자들과 똑같이 그냥 과학적인 분야에서 어떤 지원만 있다면 똑같은 성과를 낼 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
네, 그냥 사람으로서 기여를 할 수 있는 게 뭘까라는 질문이 조금 더 정확할 것 같아요. 뭔가 제가 생각했을 때는
남성만으로 이루어진 집단에 보다는 훨씬 다양하게 시각이 이루어지고 다양하게 문제 해결이 가능할 것 같아요.
특별하게 여성이라서 할 수 있는 것이라기보다는 어떤 분야이든 한 계층이나 한 성별로 전문가 집단이 특정이 되면 그 이외의 집단에 대해서는 생각할 수 있는 어떤 능력이나 의제들 자체가 떠오르지 못하기 때문에 이런 학계의 다양성을 증진을 하고 또 새로운 목소리를 낼 수 있다는 점에서 여성 과학자들이 유의미하지 않나라고 생각합니다.
최대 한 30%가 넘진 않을 것 같아요.
한 30% 40% 되지 않을까 생각합니다.
일단 반보다는 아직 좀 적을 것 같다라는 생각을 했고
20%? 20% 미만.
한 40% 정도?
10% 정도 될 것 같습니다. 물론 학부생들 기준이긴 한데
네, 모두 착석해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다.
Please take your seats.
길거리 인터뷰 영상 모두 재미있게 보셨길
Would you
바랍니다.
all
그럼
enjoy
이제부터는
the
패널
interview?
토론을 진행하고자
We would now
하는데요.
like to engage
패널
in the panel
토론은
discussion.
진행은 피터
We'd like to
웰하우든
invite
선임
Mr.
과학기술
Peter
혁신
Wilhelmsen,
담당관께서
Senior Officer for
맡아주시겠습니다.
Innovation, Technology
저는
and
토론
Science
후에
at the
잠시
Netherlands
후에
Embassy, and I will
뵙겠습니다.
see you
그리고
back after
토론에
the panel
참가하시는 분들은
discussion.
앞으로
And for all
나와서
of our
착석해
panelists, I
주시기
would like to kindly
바랍니다.
ask you to join us on the stage. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good that you're still here. Good that you're still here at this very important forum of today. We will now start with our panel discussion. My name is Peter Wijlhuizen. I'm Science and Technology Officer at the Netherlands Embassy here in Seoul. And my background is engineering. So I know, I have experienced the situation where there's a lot of men and a lot of, and not many women. When I started mechanical engineering back in the 90s in the Netherlands, there were 180 freshmen for mechanical engineering and 6 women only. And to make it even worse, within half a year, half of the women were gone. So depressing. And then I moved to a software company, which is also a lot of technology, and also meant no women. The only women there were in finance. Not good. And then I went to a very famous Dutch semiconductor company, maybe you know it, ASML. It's full of engineers, and especially back then, I think I was in a department of 80 people, and we had 2 female engineers. But also that company improved. They also had now I think the number of their female employees has increased a lot. But anyway, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk with our panelists of today. The organizers for today's event have gathered a group of distinguished and very knowledgeable people from very different fields. We have government, we have research institutes, we have the corporate world, and we even have students here. And each of them, I would like to give 5-10 minutes time to give some comments on what they heard today, about their experience, about how we can include women more in science and technology. Let me go to the list. And after everyone has given their thoughts, I would like to start a discussion with our people up on the stage. I'm going to ask questions, but I would also like to encourage you, my fellow panelists, to ask questions to each other. It's a discussion. It's not a Q&A interrogation. So let's make it interactive. And if we have time in the end, we'll also take some questions from the audience, from the floor. Okay? Then I would like to invite our first speaker to give her thoughts. Ms. Anna Schwartz, Science Affairs Counselor at the German Embassy here in Seoul.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello to everybody. Thank you for letting me speak here about Germany. I'm afraid you've heard it all, and we've heard it so many times today, and Germany is no exception. Despite being among the world's most developed countries, Germany performs poorly when it comes to giving women equal opportunity in science. Women continue to be significantly underrepresented in R&I in Germany. At the universities, the proportion of women decreases the higher one climbs the academic ladder. This is also no surprise. Female doctoral students make up only 45%. And when it comes to professors, only a quarter of the professors in Germany are women, and only 1 in 5 universities are headed by a woman in Germany. Another problem, and maybe that's a little bit special to Germany, female scientists are more likely than male scientists to have only temporary contracts. And that is, again, no surprise, if they make it to the tenure track, they often earn less than their male counterparts. That is the situation. The question is, what are the reasons for this? In Germany, one reason for the underrepresentation of women in scientific leadership positions is that the gender roles remain deeply traditional. Also, as in Korea, the federal constitution guarantees women equal rights and gives the state the responsibility to foster equality and remove hurdles related to gender. Still, there exist significant structural barriers in the field which have had a negative effect on the careers of women in science. Female science say that it's often lack of childcare facilities that keeps them from moving up, but it's also discrimination by superiors who favor men, and it can be straight up sexism also. And also in Germany, to get a permanent contract is very difficult. It includes to have to go through multiple short-term contracts at different universities. And this has created an incredible competitive, high-pressure environment in the German science-scape. German labor law stipulates that no one should work for more than a total of 12 years on limited employment contracts, meaning that scientists have to get a full tenure before then or leave university research. Any career break, such as maternity leave, is seen as a huge setback. So what can we do about it? And that's why we're here to discuss it. Things are changing, but they're changing painfully slowly. In Germany, if the proportion of women in the highest professorships increases in the same way as it has since 1992, parity would be reached in 2064. So no question, we have to take action here. The goal, equality between women and men and gender equitable university culture that promotes equality. Universities and research organizations take measure for more equality, and the task of the government is to support and foster these measures, in my opinion. So for this reason, the German Federal Ministry for Education and Research, which I also represent here, has several initiatives and funding lines to promote gender equality in academia on all levels. For instance, a program for women professors that links financial support for the appointment of women professors to structural changes in the institution of higher education, or a program called Mission STEM, Women Shape the Future, that aims at increasing the proportion of women in STEM study courses. Other programs seek to motivate women to choose a career in STEM, like a Girls' Day, or they want to increase the visibility of women in innovation and technology fields. These programs target especially women scientists, but they are by no means enough. Gender equality should be treated as a basic principle of research policy, also from the government. Gender equality plays for this reason a key role in the excellence strategy of the German government. To receive large-scale government funding as excellence universities, the universities have to show a variety of measures to improve the compatibility of science and care work. Individual universities have defined target quotas for increasing the proportion of highly qualified female scientists in top positions. So to summarize it, maybe what is important is that equality between women and men in science can only be achieved through a resolute strategy which combines various measures. We're talking here about a policy mix and focuses on sustainable cultural change. Without this cultural change, nothing will happen or will change for the good. For Germany, it means also to find a way out of the system of multiple short-term contracts and finance more tenure-track positions for women and men alike. Such a tenure-track system will increase the compatibility of career and family substantially, and at the end, we all will profit from this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I must say, I thought Germany was one of the leading countries in Europe on this topic. I'm shocked, may I say that?
Yes, it's very unfortunate, and of course, yes, it's It's yeah.
It's a tragedy.
It
It's a
makes me
tragedy.
speechless, actually.
I wrote down many questions. I'm not sure if I should ask them now, but maybe I'll leave you speeches for a while and then get back to you later on with my questions. Okay. Then next, I would like to move to Dr. Sung-eun Lee, a director for research and innovation at Solvay.
안녕하십니까. 저는
good
이승은이라고
afternoon.
하고요.
As
솔베이
introduced,
코리아
I'm
연구소장을 맡고 있습니다.
Lee Seung-eun. I'm the director of the Solvay Research and Innovation Center in Korea. Thank you for inviting me to this minimum forum, and I'm really glad to meet these people that are in various fields through this opportunity. As our Executive Vice President, Matthieu, has said very good words, and he's my direct boss, so I feel less burdened because he has said all those wonderful things. And before we started this panel discussion, I thought there would be some practice involved with our moderator, Peter, but there was no practice involved. So really, this is a true discussion in its more native forum without practice. Did you see soccer yesterday? Korea was up against Ghana, and we lost. But for 90 minutes, I really had fun. I loved watching that match. I felt like we lost, but we had a good fight. We put up a good fight. But I thought about it. If our national team, if it was 11 goalkeepers, what would happen? It would have been very boring. And that's diversity is all about. So diversity is respecting the difference, different careers, the different experiences. People with such differences come together to create a kind of rainbow, and the rich resources that comes from diversity and being able to use such a diverse talent is the strength of having diversity. As various research shows, diversity inclusive businesses do have a very good business performance results. And that's why they emphasize DI, diversity in inclusiveness, because it gives them more success. And in STEM area, we are talking about women in STEM, but unfortunately still, the women's pool in STEM, be it in the research centers or academia or private businesses, it falls below our expectation. But STEM, when it comes to sustainability, innovation, or technology advancement of the mankind, or it also relates very closely to future job opportunities. So if we cannot take advantage of this diversity, it would be very shameful and unfortunate for the future of our humankind. And equity is related to equality, but if we don't have such equity, then the talents cannot be attracted to companies and cannot be retained at companies. Hence, equity in terms of attracting the best talent is very important. And I think inclusiveness, I think acts as like adhesive. So we are all different, but that difference is connected, adhesed to each other through inclusiveness. That's why this DIE is very important. And at our company, we think STEM is very much related to keeping diversity, inclusiveness, and equity. And with that, let me show you one presentation that I've prepared. So can I change this to slide mode? Not presentation mode. So Solvay won dignity goes back to 2011. So this is a new, our own DIE culture. So through D, diversity, especially here, it's about female taking care of. We do have a lot of programs to take care of a woman's career, and in terms of diversity, gender parity or gender equality, to accelerate that. And in the equity area, we collect various data so that we can have a fair pay and to ensure that there's no gender gap, and whether we are fair in hiring, and whether when we recruit talents, these talents, do we give fair opportunities for their continuous development? So under the pillars, we make efforts under the E pillar, and in I, inclusiveness, we think the executives or leadership mindset is very important. So leaders at Solvay are continuously trained to care for staff and how to coach them and how to have an inclusive mindset. So these are regarded as very important under the Solvay One Dignity program. And as a cultural-wise, we want to have help employees realize themselves through True One campaign, and we also have Speak Up culture so that the employees can speak up their mind. So through One Dignity program, we try to pursue those goals through various activities and efforts. This is my last slide. So at Solvay Research and Innovation Center, we are located within the Ewha Women's University campus. So as you can see, we're at the top of this campus, and we have about 9,000 square meters of research center area, and we have all female, about 90% are female researchers, and so, 90 researchers, of which 40% are female. And when we talk about diversity, I feel really myself too. When we try to have a new hires, the woman talent pool, I do also find is rather weak, as was proven in the real data, as we have seen in the previous presentation. So I really feel that, especially given that our center is within the Ewha Women's University, and from 2012, with this university, we have maintained strategic partnership. And when we, at that time, the university president said through joint collaboration with the global company, she said her dream was to make Ewha Women's University be the first to have a Nobel laureate. So we are very proud that by locating ourselves within Ewha Women's University, we can lead cultural changes toward better DIE, and we are making efforts to have more women in STEM in Korea. So we are trying to do our best to become role model in this area. With that, I would like to conclude my discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your slides and your comments. I think it's very smart to set up shop in the best and biggest female university here in Korea. And your boss even said the biggest female university in the world, it was?
Yeah, biggest and the most famous university, women's university in the world.
Yeah. And I wrote down, you still have problems finding female scientists to work?
Statistically, when we are hiring new researchers, I don't know why female researchers are shy to apply. Maybe they don't know our product well, so it's our it requires our effort to promote Solvay more to the public.
To the public, okay. Your boss did a nice job by telling that half of the vanilla is made by Solvay, right?
Yeah. So whenever you eat ice cream or chocolate, please think about Solvay.
Where's my chocolate? Where's my chocolate cookie. Anyway, thank you very much. There's other questions, but they will come later.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
okay, thank you very much. Then I would like to move on to our next speaker, Dr. Eunjung Choi from Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute.
Hello everyone. I am the Director of Space Risk Research Division at the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute, currently researching space risks and hazards. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for the invitation once again. The topic here today is about ways to promote inclusion of women in SNT. So I really thought through, gave some good thought as to what kind of solutions can I identify. When we think about diversity and inclusion, I think at the end of the day, what's important is the individual. It's about me, myself, and the value that I carry, of recognizing that and to understand my values and also recognizing the value of others, because they're all invaluable individuals all in themselves. And I think that only with that respect can we actually enhance diversity and inclusion. So I wanted to give my talk in 3 categories. So at the end of the day, it's about my story. It's about me, myself, and with your own authentic story. And because I'm in the area of research, and as a female researcher in science and technology, I think that really having your space and really having your thing would be critical going forward. And it's also about networking. At the end of the day, it's about my story, it's about my field of expertise, and it's about the challenges, the issues I face. It's not something that can be done alone. It's very difficult to be at this all alone. But basically with the diversity and the organizations, I am currently working at the Association of Korean Women Scientists and Engineers as well. So we have many things that are done by KOFWST. We have the Women's in Science and Technology Supporting Centers, and it's about networking together to share our challenges, our issues together, and to find a way to solve these challenges. So it may take some time, but I think that we can really network together, get acquainted, and go by step. So I just wanted to briefly mention what kind of activities and what kind of work I'm doing right now. So as a space scientist, I am researching space hazards. And these days, I think that the key word would be sustainability. And if you think about sustainability, if we really want to achieve that, it's about continuing on to focus on diversity and inclusion. And if not, sustainability would be impossible in the future. I majored in astronomy and aerospace studies. And you can see that astronomy and aerospace is a bit different. If you think about astronomy, typically you would think about the constellations, about the stars. But recently, with the launch vehicles and many artificial satellites that have been developed, it's now about really the space era where we may be able to reside in space going forward. And I did major in the science and technology field, but the lab that I worked for was the Satellite Orbital Engineering Lab. So there was a lot of orbital mechanics related elements into it. So it was basically about a convergence of different disciplines. And I felt that my career was quite special or unique or different from others, because when I first started, I actually I started my career at the Korea Aerospace Industries, and I was in the project of developing the Arirang 2 satellite. And my second career was at Satricai. So at that time, it was a startup, it was a venture company. So I switched from a big company to a startup. And what I wanted to do there was to expand my capabilities and competencies. It was a challenge for me at Satricai. And this was
a bet that I did in my life, and I developed a satellite there as well. And then afterwards, in 2010, from the private sector, I switched to a research role here at the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute, and I've engaged in research in earnest. I'm sure that you all watched the movie Hidden Figures, and if you remember, there are 3 characters, and I'm sure you recall their roles. And as I was watching this movie, I thought that what I was doing was all of the roles of the 3 characters combined. So that made better your understanding on my work at this institute. So to give you some more information on my work, I said that sustainability is key in the future, and what you see here is the Earth and all of the various artificial satellites closely knitted. And when we go out in space, you can see that it's highly dense, but how can we peacefully navigate throughout the space is my area of research. I've actually selected this topic 25 years back, and the frequent questions that I get is 25 years back, how? At that time, I think that there wasn't really a lot of dialogue or discourse on this very topic. It was a very unfamiliar topic, but how did you end up in selecting that topic? So if I look back, maybe people say that that was a stellar choice, but if I go back into the past, the reason why I decided this topic was because I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do or make that different choice from others. And of course, a challenging spirit was required. I think that I don't have a lot of time, so if I may skip. So basically, it's about predicting the space hazards. That's my area of research. And we had the Danuri, the Nuri rocket launch, and I'm sure that you've heard a lot of news on space development and space exploration. And but that is not all. There are some other space hazards and space risks that we would be witnessing, and I'm researching that. And I have to say that it's still a very not well-known topic. And because I am a women scientist, sometimes many people would shed some unique light on what I'm doing right now. This is my lab. And the last point I would like to make is that all of the research recently at the UN has been focused on sustainability at space as well. From 2014, I've also been part of COPUOS, the UN Commission for the Peaceful Use of Outer Space. And I'm participating as a Korean delegate there. We have many private companies advancing into space, and we may be seeing a blind development of space, which is quite concerning. So you can see that this commission was put together to enable peaceful use of outer space. And the reason why I'm saying and mentioning this is because at the UN, sustainability at space is also about diversity and inclusion. In 2018, through a meeting, there were 4 agenda items that were identified, and one was space and industry. And the other was space and women, in terms of the 4 keywords that have to do with space. So there was a presentation by a space agency of EU that presented at that time, because actually that agency is very much advanced than that of Korea, but you can see that even in the managerial positions there, less than 10% are women in leadership positions at that space agency. So I was very much surprised back then when I listened to that presentation. And the third area is space and the youth, also identified by the UN in 2018 for the sustainable use of space. So we really need to nurture our next generation. And the fourth is space and society. So at the end of the day, we do need that social platform in order to enable sustainable development of space. So there were these 4 areas that were mentioned by the UN in 2018 that we need to focus on. So in order to enhance and promote inclusion, it's about my story, to have your own area of expertise, of research, and also, just like this forum, to engage in networking, to make full use of these networks, these institutions, these individuals, to engage in dialogue. And I think that that is a way for promoting inclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing your story, your personal story, your way to where you are now. Very interesting choices as well. Not many people would have gone the way that you have done. is there any person in your life who has guided you or who has been your inspiration for this?
Yes, so with regard to my research topic, of course, I had my professor that really mentored me in the process. But as a woman in science and technology, at the labs and when I was working for the private company, I thought that at the lab, of course, it was back in my university years, so we actually had 25% female students. But when I came to the private company, I was 1 out of 100 employees. And talk about proportion. And then at the SMEs, we had a total of 50. So we had 30 people working at one floor, and I was the only person in that single floor. So Hidden Figures in the movie, you can see that they had to go to a different building for the bathroom. But what I had to do was on that floor, there was just one single female restroom, and it was all for me. And another thing that I can recall is the current institute that I work for. Out of 16 members, I am the only female participant or scientist. But the reason why I was able to continue on with my career was because we have so many stellar scientists, women scientists before me, where when I've actually asked for some advice, they were really out there to really help me out. So they really were some critical individuals. So I want to say that my mentors are all of those that were my predecessors in science and technology. They really were really out there to give me support. So the reason why I'm also a part of this network to provide my advice and my support.
Okay, good. So you will be the mentor for the next scientists, right? Thank you very much. I would like to go to our next speaker. On my list, I have Ms. Kim, Senior Vice President, Human Resource Team at LG Corporation. I would like to stick with the list in my sheet, please. Can you pass the clicker, please? Thank you very much.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는
Yes, hello. I'm Kim Lee-kyung. I'm from at the HR department at LG Corp. I studied business administration. I was not very good in math. So if I was good in math, I think if I had also studied about astronomy or aerospace, I think it would have been fun. So listening to Dr. Choi felt also really good. And it was really fun. And I find everybody's doctor here, so maybe without PhD degree, I'm not. I felt a bit self-conscious, and I think. Oh yes, name has changed. We have also Mr. Choi Dong-hyuk here. So I was curious about what he felt like, because in many places there are more men and few female, but today Mr. Choi, is the only male panel, list of these panels here. So I would like to hear his feeling. But anyways, at LG Corp, I am in charge of human resources at the LG Group. And as you know, LG Group has many different affiliates in different industries. We have in chemical, telecommunications, in electronics. Mostly, I'm focused. So I'm going to focus on electronics and chemical part of our business. And LG Group is very much focused in R&D, and we are very strong in that in R&D. So LG Chem is our mother company, the first LG company, which is about 75 years old, and more than 1/3 of their staff is R&D people. And for LG Electronics, it's about 60 years old, younger than LG Chem, and about 1/2 of its desk white-collar people are researchers. So today, I'm going to focus my discussion on LG Chem and LG Electronics to talk about researchers, especially female researchers, what are the issues we face and how we are trying to solve these issues. So as I said before, I'm going to focus on our chemical and electronics businesses for LG Chem. The R&D resources, if you say is 100, the ratio of gender ratio is 72 to 28. So about 77 to 3 roughly is the gender ratio. So I think in previous sessions we said about 25% of the STEM workers were female, and in the chemical area, material engineering, chemical engineering majors, and also under LG Chem, we also have life science business. So we also have people who study pharmacology. But so ours is a bit average, a bit higher than average. But those in the leadership position, like team leaders or business unit heads or executives that have the people leadership, if you look at that ratio, actually the overall compared to overall R&D resources, the positions in the executives is smaller, but if you see the gender ratio, it's actually, yes, smaller. So only about 18%, I know the letters are rather small. So of the 28 female researchers, 18% are in the leadership position. So it's smaller. So whatever the organization, at least 20% needs to be females for women to speak up and to have their voice heard. So we have a bit of way to go in that context. Now, looking at the electronics business, the overall ratio is compared to LG Chem smaller. So for LG Electronics, hardware engineers, we also have hardware engineers, but nowadays it's about software engineers and those that studied AI and big data. So these are the researchers at electronics. So electronic engineering, mechanical engineering, machine engineering, and seems not many females are in the AI or big data as of yet. So overall ratio shows that 9:2, it's less than a bit more than 9:1. So female ratio is 13% here. So if you go to leadership position, it's really worse. So only 4% of the all leadership positions are women. So that is the current status. So we thought, why is that so? And we did a lot of different analysis and trying to find solutions. And within LG Group, we tried to have active discussion in this area also. And always I share this story when we talk about this. You might know this story, but let me share it anyways. Father and son was on a car and had a big traffic accident. Father died on the spot, and son was seriously ill and was brought to the emergency room. And he had to go to an emergency surgery and called the surgeon to prepare for his surgery. The surgeon called, looking at the serious ill patient, says, I cannot operate on him. I cannot operate my own son, so please give it to another surgeon. So what is that situation? So when I tell this story, within LG Group, a lot of people, mostly executives, share this story a lot. Their eyes start to shake and they look very confused. They cannot grasp what the situation is about. But you would guess what this is all about? The context? Yes, excellent. Surgeon was mother. So, if I make confession, when I first heard this story 10 years ago, I was also not sure what is this situation. Myself, I had also unconscious bias. Hence, there could be a variety of different reasons, but at a private company, having career there, I think the biggest barrier that I face is, as was mentioned many times today, it's unconscious bias. So people usually think that women, when in the area of STEM or science and technology, they will not really be very visible. They will be less committed to their career in terms of leadership and control of the organization. They'll be weaker. So because we are living in a better environment, nobody says that outright. But I think that's a deep-rooted unconscious thoughts. So to break those unconscious bias, I know different associations are working hard, which is encouraging. And I also would like to say a lot of private companies are also making efforts. And Peter or to other foreigners here, I don't know how it will be translated, but anyways, everybody says they have two pets. So you might say, I don't have a pet, but everybody has two dogs as their pet. Prejudice and perceived notions. So it's not about prejudice on gender, but we also have a lot of perceived notions and prejudice and bias. So myself also. So I hope that you all know that we are trying every day to break those bias, perceived notions and prejudices at private companies also. So what kind of efforts are we making? Now, be it women or men, for you to have output, you need three capital. Human capital is the first. So personal knowledge, technology, expertise, experience. You also need social capital. You need to network, have an interaction. So this such social capital is also needed. And also organization structure, roles, culture, systems. So such organizational capital all needs to be there for you to have a good output or performance. Even if a person is smart in your life within organization, if you are not supported by an organization system or social capital, you cannot really have a good performance. And here, in terms of human capital, the women in R&D, you are maybe better than others. Everybody recognizes that fact. But when it comes to organizational capital, I don't know what would you feel, but in many companies, they are making a lot of efforts. So socially, you might think there are still challenges and barriers, but environmentally, organization-wise, and also system-wise, female workers cannot take advantage of various systems that help her, and they are very much committed to leverage them. But the variable part here is then social capital. So up to now, unconscious bias had really important role in social capital. So women, in terms of leading organization, they are weak, and women are not loyal to organization or company. They are not good in networking. That such a prejudice or bias are all rooted in the social capital area. I think it was inevitable in the past because in Korea, social capital you had drinking sessions in the evening, going golf together. You had to drink together, smoke together. You could only through those activities could you go into inner circle, thereby build your own social capital. And what is hopeful is such a perception is changing, and organizations are making efforts to change such perceptions. So how are we changing? In high level, what I can tell you is that you probably heard about this also a lot. In the 21st century, with the fourth industrial revolution, what is the core competency of the future? They say it's 4C: unique critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. So they say these are the 4Cs required for the future. So if you just use this as a framework, critical thinking and creativity is closer to IQ, and it's all about your educational background. So these two, it's as an organization, as a company, very hard to control or make efforts. But what is interesting is that the executives or leaders at LG, if you analyze their competency in these four areas, what they're strong in is critical thinking and creativity, regardless of your gender. But what we are weak in are collaboration and communication. So, regardless of gender ratio, to build up more on communication collaboration, we are making a lot of different efforts. So what is hopeful here, or is positive here, is that a lot of data, especially for women, when it comes to communication collaboration, tell us that women are higher in competency of communication and collaboration. That has been proven through various data and various research, and I do believe those are correct. But it just shows the potential. What is more important is to realize that potential and to grow that competency, and so that it will not just stay as potential. So in the area where women have higher potential, if we differentiate ourselves with those, then and help with that woman to be in the leadership position, to be, and I think companies' role is to help women to fully maximize their potential so that they can leverage their competencies to work in a leadership position. So encourage women to go into that leadership position and offer more opportunities so that women can go into that leadership position more. And I believe LG is at forefront for that effort, and we can be the role model in that area. But it's not only LG, but also other companies are also making efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see more females in LG high-level executive places. And with that program, it should work. Also, I was interesting that you brought up I wrote down unconscious bias. Also, this, as you know, you were in this. There was a session in the morning. Also, there it came up. Also, it came up in other presentations. And you had some nice ways to try to fix some of the bias of us, me, the older generation who fell for your story. I must admit, I also was a little confused in the beginning. So I'm also biased. But doesn't it also start when we start talking, when we start communicating as a 2-year-old? Just like the Solvay executive vice president showed his daughter on the screen at that day. Should we also start focusing on the little children, not to put bias in their heads? And if so, how? Did LG look into that as well? Or is this out of your scope?
You mean outside of the corporate world?
Yeah. I think there's the bias gets into our head when we are, when we are small kids. It's parents, it's teachers, it's TV, it's a lot of things, in my opinion. Is there anything we can do to prevent bias? And maybe I've also opened the floor already to other people if they have any idea. But because you mentioned this unconscious bias,
그러니까 unconscious bias 같은 경우는 사실은 말씀하셨던 것처럼
Yes, as you said, the unconscious bias depends on the environment that you grew up. You are influenced by your environment, so it's very hard to break. But at companies, what kind of role we can play to break that unconscious bias, if I understood your question correctly, then I think immediately not being aware that you have that unconscious bias, that older generation being stimulated within the company and being aware that I have that bias through trainings and other things at your company, then you could influence your family to your extended community. You can have a positive influence. Maybe that could be a starting point, and maybe as based on what Peter said, CSRs and also ESGs, we do a lot at companies these days. So companies to students or to children, we also have different educational programs. At LG, what we are really focused on ESG activities. One of them is from elementary school students, we do a lot of R&D education. We also expose them even to AI related education. So through that activity, we could also give message to break their conscious bias, embed them so they would not develop bias. So that could be a way for business to play a role.
Okay, thank you. Just please.
unconscious bias에 대해서
So unconscious bias, if I may joke, if you have lived in Korea for a long time, when we go to restaurants, we call the helpers and even the proprietor of the restaurants auntie. But that's unconscious bias. We always call them auntie. They could be our sisters, they could be, others, or even the owner of the restaurant. We just call them all auntie. So I feel also confused when I also heard her story, because I also said, oh, father died, how could be there another parent? So I was also in the wrong. And the sports also, we have Kim Yeona, Park Se-ri, and then we have Kim Yeona, Park Se-ri kids in golf and also figure skating. So in the STEM or science area, to break unconscious bias, we need role models like Kim Yeona and Park Se-ri. So I'm also head of a research center, but people that do not know me, they come to our center for the first time, they feel they are surprised. In a woman as a head of a center, so they are very surprised. I could feel it. So that unconscious bias, to break that, I think in many areas, we need more good role models.
Fully agree. We need more role models. And I guess you will all be role models for the Korean kids here. Right? Okay, thank you. Now, okay, I would like to move on to our last speaker of today. Maybe you were here this morning, maybe not, but there was another session here this morning. Some other experts talked about their experiences, women in science and technology. Mr. Che was there as a representative. He was also a speaker, and he will shortly summarize what was discussed this morning.
네, 짧게 준비하지는 않았고 준비하다 보니까 좀 길어졌네요.
Yes, I had actually prepared rather long text as a preparation, but let me introduce myself. I'm president of KAIST Graduate Student Association. I'm also a PhD candidate at the Graduate School for Technology and Culture at KAIST. Now, previous speaker asked me how I felt being the only man panelist here, and as I said in the morning, I have 4 aunts and 5 nieces and also 3 older sisters. So I had a positive influence from females. So I feel very much welcomed and very much kind of at home. And because of that, we have a lot of people called Ide Nam, Ewha Women's University's men. It's because males in their 20s are very negative toward feminism, and that's a phrase coined as Ide Nam. But I think I'm a step far away from that, and I do not feel afraid talking about feminism. I feel, very much comfortable talking about this. So I'm a bit cautious that I represent some segment, but as a person in the STEM area, when it comes to gender issues about women in STEM, I will just share with you my observations. Now, among the student researchers, the biggest gender issue is talking about it. There is a social kind of mood where you're hesitant to speak up about it. So I actually talked to audience before this forum started. In Korean society, between male and females in the 20s and 30s, gender issue has become a very serious social issues, and since 2020s, it has kind of become a taboo to talk about gender issue between men and women. I think that also plays a role at the research labs. It's considered kind of potential conflict or clash issues. So we don't really talk about it anymore. So, but talking, communicating, trying to put our heads together to solve the issue together, I think that is more important. And statistically, and looking at data, I was very persuaded today because we talked with numbers, but I do believe the other male researchers, students, if we have more opportunity to communicate and talk about it, I think it would be better. And secondly, the number of women in STEM are very low in terms of numbers. That is very much a fact. In STEM area, women being underrepresented, I do not believe this is only a Korean issue. To prepare for this forum, I actually talked with my peers, other student researchers, and as was shared by Dr. Lee of Solvay, many female women said there is no role models for them. So as a woman scientist, they say that it's the biggest challenge. There is no role model or mentor. But I think it's not that there are no one existing as role model mentor. It's not well known. So there are people, women scientists that are not visible as of yet. So if there is a way, like systems or other ways where women scientists can gain more visibility, I believe it will be much better. Thirdly, the gender issue and generational issue are tied together. So this linked also to the previous 2 issues that I already talked about. For older generation, like my father generation, at that time, really women had really sacrificed, and there was even a visible discrimination against women. But those in their 20s and 30s, actually within school campus, of course, it might be different once you go outside of school, but within the school campus, I I don't think they feel there's a lot of discrimination against women or female students. But if you see that from the older generation perspective, men in their 20s and 30s, we have never discriminated against those women in 20s and 30s, and they raise the issue that women are getting preferential treatment over me, who never discriminated against women. So in some part, I do understand what are they saying. The men in their 20s and 30s needs to also be understood, and there should be also some consideration to hear our voice and our difficulties also. And another thing is about gender sensitivity. For older generations, there's a serious gender discriminations but they think if it's not on the news, it's okay. So only visible things are discrimination. Others, they do not realize these are discrimination. But everyday life, there are small and minor discriminations which are felt harder to the women researchers. And I hear they suffer from that more than instead of the big discrimination. So I do believe those also needs to be considered. At the KAIST Graduate School Student Association, we do a survey of the graduate students to see what kind of the research environment the students face. So we are doing this now, and according to the last year's survey results, we looked at especially whether female grad students are happy based on some hypothesis. And what was interesting was that female graduate student researchers are less satisfied and less happy than their male counterparts, and that was shown through the statistics. And actually, the difference was statistically meaningful. But it's not that there was any difference in wage or in other areas. So why are they less happy? So I think not in quantity, in quality, in terms of environment, females are less satisfied. So we need to change of the system, and the culture of our society needs to be changed to make female researchers happier. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We indeed need happy researchers, yes. And what I also remember from this morning session is, I think you mentioned it as well, this is an issue that we should solve together, men and women. It's not just only women or only men who have to come together and work on it, but it's we have to do it together, right? Yeah. I'm looking at the organizers, and I think we only have, 4 minutes left? Uh-oh, 5. Oh, we get 5. And we have, I think I have a zillion questions written down, and I think also our panelists have many questions left, but there's not much time. Then, what shall we do? Maybe we heard many things today, that things are wrong. And this is the first forum that we have. I assume there is talking to me. Maybe you should talk in my ear. Oh, okay. We have to. Okay, we can talk. We can talk more. We can have a little more time. Okay, then let's go to some of my questions. Then there was Germany. There is a lot of, the government is doing a lot, and things are changing. The companies, are they also taking action? Are they also do you happen to know if the big German companies are also taking action to make women more inclusive? Because if it's only the government, it won't work. The companies have to do something as well. Do you happen to know? And
Yes,
there's something that Korean companies could learn from?
Yes, thank you very much. The companies do a lot, and also the universities and research institutions. And that's interesting because we didn't talk about this, and that would be also a question to maybe the women from LG and from Solvay. I think it's not enough to only change the culture. We also have to change the conditions for the women to work. So what we do in Germany, of course, and it's a big issue, we are talking about building up childcare facilities, about maternity leave, to give fathers the possibility to also stay at home after the birth of a child, to give the opportunities to work part-time for all employees, for the women and for men alike. So that's what companies do, that we talk about it. It's not finished yet. We're in the discussion, but I would be interesting, what are you offering your employees to be an attractive employer in this regard?
솔베이에서도 제도적으로 그 도움을 줘야 된다는 거 fully agree 하고요.
We also agree we need to give them more support when we talk with our employees, especially in Korea. Childcare is resulting in career breaks for female researchers, so it's a really a challenge. So at Solvay, for the gender equality, we say maternity leave to parents, we give the same 16 weeks. That's already in place.
Yes.
Now, LG, as I said before, as we have various affiliates in different industries and sectors, so there is a difference by our affiliates. So it's not a perfect condition as of yet, but in case of childcare program, the maximum that large companies can offer are available, and maternity leave and other systems, maybe not to full satisfaction, but the maximum a company can offer, I think we are making efforts to reach that level. The max a company can do. And personally, what I found was interesting was that despite all these efforts, the personal level of perception, there is a difference. So there is a system in place and program in place, but taking advantage of those and satisfaction level of those programs, there is a difference. That's why I was a bit hesitant. Now, we also do survey on the employee satisfaction level, and we look at result by gender. Always a woman have less satisfaction level. So we always to analyze, what is the reason behind less satisfaction, and maybe, as was mentioned, environmental conditions. There's not much of a dissatisfaction, but culture or something that cannot be verbally said. So I think culturally they think it's less satisfying, and that's why I said about unconscious bias. And as Annette has said, in terms of in various conditions, yes, we have to make continuous improvement.
Okay. Also, so someone mentioned fathers here as well. Also, the Korean government, they allow fathers to take up some, not only paternity leave just after a child is born, but also, I think it's parental leave. Would that be the correct English description? Do you also encourage fathers to take this parental leave to take care of the baby while the mother?
I don't have the hard data with me now, but absolutely we are encouraging men to take leverage those kind of benefits.
But still, yes, unfortunately, still it's maybe only 10% of the people who take this paternal leave. Parental leave. Only 10% is male. I hope it can somehow improve as well.
Yeah. So there are benefits there, and how to leverage and best utilize is another story. So we definitely need more work, more effort to encourage people to take advantage of it.
But in case of survey, we are applying same period of maternity leave, not maternity, paternity leave to co-parents. And what about in LG? Same period?
I guess it depends. It's various in different companies. Perhaps, for example, U+, it's a telecommunications company. They have that benefit program. But LG Electronics, for example, they don't have that program. So it's various.
And at CASTI, are there any special programs for that you know of or that you have used?
네. 저희 이제 연구계는 아무래도
Yes, in the case of the research institute, I think that we have some more freedom to maneuver versus private companies. So at a research institute, we do have a flexible working system where researchers are not actually confined to a timeline. They have their own schedule that they would develop to research, and in terms of maternal leave, whether it be men or women, the organizational, the structure, culture, when it comes to gender, I think that it should not be something that would only provide benefits for women. It should be something that would benefit the society. So I think that we really need that mindset change. And the research domain, it's much more, it's freer than the private sector, but it's true that it's smaller in scale versus private companies. But I want to say that women in science and technology, we've talked about the fact that there aren't enough role models, and we don't have a lot of people that we can actually convert and share our stories. But I think that, well, for me as well as was educated as such, to just comply with what we have, it's to just be patient and just to take in what's on our plate. And it's true that it's very difficult for us to express ourselves, and share our stories. And my generation, of course, finds it very difficult to do this. So if we do have many supporting policies, it's true that women may be hesitant to actually take advantage of these policies. And I've been seeing this the same for my colleagues as well in my same generation. So I want to mention that for such women in science and technology, maybe this could be the right analogy. When we actually go out and exercise at the gym, we have our trainers, and when they try to increase the weightlifting, every time they add another barbell, for instance, they would actually sometimes support our arms when we're doing that weightlifting. But when we actually complete, when we do that, they say that, well, I didn't help you out at all. That it was me that was lifting all of those weights. But you can see that just with that slight gesture would actually encourage us to go down that path. And I want to mention that all of these supporting organizations and institutions, these associations, can actually play that role of really giving that nudge or that helpful gesture. And I really hope that you can continue on to encourage our women in science and technology. And as a member of KWSC, I would also like to play that role as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to move to a closure of today. We heard many different possible solutions to this problem, but I would like to ask all our panelists, there's government people here from the EU, from EU countries, from the Korean government. If you can give them one thing that they should do now, so that next time when we meet, the problem, I don't think it can be gone, but at least it will be smaller. If there's one thing that you can give to the governments, what would it be? And please keep it to 2 sentences. May I start with Ms. Annette, please?
Well, since I'm from the government, I think we must create more commitment in this And this commitment should go through all the government, research institutions, universities, companies, because that's the first thing where we can start.
Commitment, I wrote it down.
For me, networking.
Networking.
So this is such a meaningful event to begin with. Thank you very much.
So this means we need a second forum sometime next year.
Could be
That
nice.
that is your okay.
Yeah, continuously.
We wrote it down, right?
네, 저는
Yes, I believe
저희가 계속 퍼센티지
that
어떤
we always talk
숫자를
about
얘기하는데
statistics and percentage,
여성
but
과학기술인들의
women in science and technology, I want to say that we really need the efforts of the government to increase this percentage. So in other words, to increase the percentage in leadership and women in science and technology. So of course there is a preferential policy for women in science and technology, but if we really want to bring up the stats, I think that the government really needs to put in the effort, and we really need their support.
Thank you. Our only guy in the panel. By the way, I'm with you, by the way. I'm also part of the panel, so it's not just you.
저는 기성세대
Well, I think older generation, in deciding gender policies, I know they come with the goodness of their hearts, but for those in their younger generation, in the 20s and 30s, there is a gap with the reality they face. So when you make policies, please be inclusive of the younger generations.
Very good point. The younger generation indeed thinks totally different than the older generation. Yes.
저는
For me,
제가
I think
사실은 여기
actually
초대를 받기
before I accepted the invitation to this forum, I did not know that there were this type of activities. So while sitting here, the question I have is, there are many women researchers in STEM area, but would they be watching this forum? And if they're not, it's because they do not know, or is it because they can't watch this forum proceedings? So to answer your question, this type of forum or this type of activities by various associations needs to be visible, needs to be a strong voice. I think that would be very much appreciated.
That's a very, very good point, yes. And I think we are visible on YouTube. That's a good thing. So people, even in Busan, are able to watch it. That's a good start. But indeed, let's consider that. And may I, as your MC of today, add one more thing, and that's a word that I heard many different times today, this afternoon, and also this morning, and that's role models. I think we need role models, whether it's a female researcher, whether it's an astronaut, whether it's a female CEO or ambassador. We need them. So please also step up. And I think with this, I would like to conclude this part of today. This is the last session. And I would like to thank our panelists today for their input, for putting up with my unexpected, difficult questions without preparations. I hope you had fun, by the way. More fun. It was fun. Anyway, also, I hope the audience got inspired. And next time when we meet, hopefully in a year, we will have the graphs again, but then the numbers look better, much better. Thank you very much.
네, 피터 웰하우즌 담당관님 그리고
Yes,
패널에 참여하신
Mr.
모든
Peter
분들께
Wilhausen
진심으로
and all
감사드립니다.
panelists, thank you so much
제가
for your
콘텐츠를
contributions.
공부한
I've been jotting down so many ideas. So the commitment of the government, more forums, institutional support, inclusive policies for the younger generation, and role models. Thank you so much for all of those insightful ideas. And through this panel discussion, we were able to share views, perspectives, and it really gave us some very good food for thought. So thank you very much for that invaluable session. We truly hope that we can usher in an even better future for women in science and technology. And with that, we would like to conclude the first EU-Korea Women in Science and Technology Forum. I would like to thank you all for your support to make this very successful forum possible, and also to our audience, both online and offline. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.